So I think this is really important because we're looking at, I personally think this guy who did this on over the weekend was radicalized domestically. But there we've had so many people who are radicalized, and we have not looked into at all, as far as I know, we have not looked into at all the process of how they became radicalized, whether there is foreign organizations who are contributing to the radicalization, and how can we eradicate that from our country.
Sierra, we are suffering from what's called unconventional warfare.
Mm,
There is military kinetic warfare, and then there's psychological warfare. And the psychological warfare seems to be winning. You go out onto the internet and you look at the various social media sites, and people say anything.
mhm.
Well, the issue of the day is that our freedom of speech is our greatest weapon, but it's also our worst vulnerability. And there's always going to be some person that's vulnerable to suggestion,
Mm,
and they're out here on these websites. Some of those websites are foreign, maybe not all of them, but one person or two people out of 100 can create so much chaos. And you never know when somebody's absolutely nuts. You might be talking to them and they seem like a normal person until they're not. And I
right.
think that's kind of where we are. And some of these people go into these crazy chat sites and they're being manipulated by people outside of our culture and being taken advantage of. And so, but on the other hand, again, freedom of speech is our greatest weapon. It is the thing that makes us special. So we have to find some kind of balance between the two. And, in a lot of other countries, like for example, in China, you can't access their firewall. You can't just
Mm,
broadcast into China
right,
from
right.
America, but you can do that here. You can, all of pretty much every country in the world is throwing internet memes at us and trying to manipulate us and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Now, but we're not perfect because we once had this thing and we still do called the Voice of America.
Mm,
And you go off to Russia and they're broadcasting radio waves into Russia, and
mm,
that's how we got American culture pretty much all over the world. But now the internet is just a little bit more concentrated. And, you just don't know what somebody's listening to individually on their phone,
mm.
individually on their computer. So it just becomes way more complicated. And that's kind of where we are. We've got to figure out a way to not let our people get radicalized.
Yeah.